Now, the news. Kimber is a company that has had a rough reputation for a long time. For some folks, they are an excellent brand. And then others, like myself, they've had sort of a bit of trouble with QC over the years and therefore is a mixed reputation. However, it seems like they've been attempting to turn a corner over the last couple of years by introducing new guns like the KDS-9C, the R7 Mako, and even continuing to refine their revolver lineup. Then they released the 2K11, which was arguably one of their more appealing guns. However, still haven't shot one, so I can't confirm if it's any good. Well, now they've introduced another new series of guns. They're calling it the NextGen 1911, and on the surface, seems pretty neat. On launch, you can get these in either two-tone or stainless, and both can be had in either 9 or 45 ACP chamberings. The barrels are 5 inches long, and they are said to hold 9 rounds each, but I think the 45 is probably an 8-round mag. I can't confirm that. The big changes to these come in the form of an optic cut, which is borrowed from that same 2K11 and comes with an optic plate, which is a nice touch, plus an external extractor, a sloped disconnector ramp, and the GT trigger from that same 2K11 as well. They say that virtually every critical component of every pistol is made in the Kimber factory, which is kind of more rare than you might think these days. So I suppose we have to ask ourselves, did they make the 1911 even better? I have one from Bull Armory in 9mm that is effing amazing for the money, and it has an MSRP of $850 currently. These Kimbers have an MSRP of $999. Now, the Bull is not optic cut and doesn't have the external extractor, so maybe these could be similar in value overall. I certainly hope that it does just that. I mean, that's almost a budget price tag in 2025 for a nice 1911, right? Like, it's getting there. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you own a 1911? Would you buy a Kimber if these turn out to be legit? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collector News. I'm John Patton. I've got a sneaky deal of the week for you guys on a brand that rarely gets deep discounts, so stick around until later in the show to find out what it's all about. It's going to be pretty neat. Moving on, a company called Gunworks has made the push into straight wall cartridges. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Gunworks is an ultra premium company that loves to offer all-in-one solutions for hunters with tons of cash. That said, it's really interesting to see them getting into the 450 Bushmaster cartridge because of straight wall laws. They're claiming that their 450 Bushmaster system, yes, that's what they call them, the system, redefines what is possible with straight wall cartridges. They're also claiming that they've been able to switch up the bullets being used in normal 450 Bushmaster loads to something with a higher ballistic coefficient and better powder, different powder than I guess what comes in other charges, to make the round more effective beyond 400 yards. That's pretty rad if it's actually true. They say that the bullet they're using is a 327 grain projectile going roughly 2,000 feet per second out of the muzzle, and it exceeds the performance of a 250 grain standard 450 Bushmaster load, which leave the muzzle at a higher speed. They don't mention any of their models or what can be had in 450 Bushmaster, but they start to be around $7,000 MSRP for some of their nicer guns. And a box of their fancy ammo goes for an MSRP of $140 for 20 rounds or $7 a shot. I have a hard time believing that a difference of 200-ish feet per second at 500 yards downrange is worth that kind of price tag, but it is a neat idea and could be cool, I guess. And speaking of expensive Proof Research has a new one for us this week, and it looks great, honestly. This is their new Tundra TIX, and it has a few things going for it. First, the action itself is a titanium unit from Defiance Machine, who makes really nice stuff. Then you have their carbon fiber stock and a carbon wrap barrel, a Trigger Tech special trigger, and a sub-half MOA guarantee. That's some fancy stuff right there. And it should be, because the MSRP is $8,000. $8,000. Now, you can get it in 6.5 Creed or PRC, 7 PRC or BC, 308 Win, 300 Win Mag, Super Mag, or PRC, and 5 different color patterns for the stock. I'm betting that it's an excellent rifle. Probably really good. You just have to pay a substantial price to get one. Moving on from there, Bear Creek Arsenal is back to producing uppers in 6.8 SPC2. For those of you that are a little bit newer to the shooting world, that cartridge became a thing, the 6.8 SPC, in the early 2000s and had the revamp to the 2 version a few years after that. Now, there was even a full rifle developed around that cartridge by LWRC. It's called the 6.8. And even though LWRC had better performance with slightly larger than AR-15 size mags, BCA is offering these in both bolt action and semi-auto versions that would slap onto a standard AR lower, and I'm assuming use standard AR mags. MSRP on those range from $290 to $310. They also released AR-10 uppers in 277 Fury, otherwise known as 6.8 by 51, which is the civilian version of the new Army 6.8 round. The next gen squad, whatever the hell. Again, these come in semi or bolt actions with a 16-inch barrel. However, I've never seen ammo in stock anywhere for that cartridge, so I don't think it really exists. I haven't seen it. It's not a thing. MSRP on the uppers is from $695 to $750, and I'll tell you what, if I was paying over $150 a shot for 277 Fury, I would not be doing it out of a freaking Bear Creek Arsenal 16-inch upper. That's not how I would accomplish that. I guess maybe you could church it up with some nice stuff from this week's sponsor, Wooks. Wooks just introduced their new vertical forward grip as part of their Vigilante line of products, and I gotta say, I'm really digging it. It rounds out the product offerings, and on top of that, it's actually functional. It also matches up really nice with their walnut M-LOK rail covers. If you use TGC10 over there, you'll probably spend a couple less points, and that would be great for you. I would love that for you. I really would love that for you. Big thanks to Wooks for supporting TGC. We really do appreciate them. All of our sponsors are great. Wooks is one of them. They make nice stuff. I like wood on ARs. That's neat. Let's keep it rolling with this week's Friendly Fire question. If you want to ask me a question, slam it down in the comments with the words Friendly Fire so that I can go back and find it. That's been very helpful. I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you. We've got a few questions this week. 64 Bruce B says, blue cheese or ranch with buffalo wings and celery or no celery? I'm going to ruin your whole question by saying that I think traditional wings are way too much work for not enough meat. I'm also a little with spicy food. However, it would be blue cheese and celery that for me if that was a thing. Seth Shockey 1114 says Pewview versus Jerry Mitchell in 3-gun and speed shooting. Who would win? Nick at Pewview is an excellent shot. No doubt about that. I've seen it up close. We have a video on it. And Jerry is getting older every day. I've seen both of those guys shoot up close. I've been right there when they're shooting. It's amazing. And I got to give it to Jerry on that combination. I think Jerry would win. And DL Ferg has a few regarding GunCon. I'm going to give you guys the most unfiltered responses possible. I'm not going to read each question. I'm just going to respond because there's a few. I'm excited that we are at a new location because I feel like this year is a turning point for the event because we separated from Brownells and their location. There's no bad blood there, just not at their facility this year. And if this year goes well, that means that we've got something going that is sustainable, at least in my mind. I think we're doing pretty good. This is year 4, but this is a sort of important year. The thing that will have the biggest impact to me is that we are in that new location, and that means new people can come see what the event is all about. The most thrilling aspect for us is seeing people light up when they see the new stuff, meet their favorite gun tubers, and most importantly, when we all get to feel like something bigger than ourselves, like we're a part of something that's just a larger unit. And the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is seeing a bunch of new faces. It's great to see some of the same folks as before, of course. I love seeing my friends. But this year we have a ton of new attendees, creators, and brands. And we're going to bring them all into the GunCon family, and that's really cool. My friendly fire question to you guys this week. How much ammo is enough when it comes to stacking it up for the end of the world, crap hits the fan kind of situation? Sound off below with your thoughts. And how's about some gun industry news? Smith & Wesson announced a huge win from the Supreme Court. They were being sued by the Mexicans. And I don't mean that in a funny sort of like, yo, host kind of Ding, come on, man. That was a bad Mexican accent, but they actually got sued by the country of Mexico.
Scanning for Mexicans.
And they were claiming that Smith & Wesson was responsible and knew about guns getting to cartels and other criminal things happening and misusing their guns in the country of Mexico. And they were suing them. Well, in a unanimous decision, aka 9-0, the Supreme Court shot the case down. In a press release, Big Blue, aka Smith & Wesson's CEO, said, "Today's unanimous Supreme Court decision shutting down this ridiculous lawsuit against our company represents not only a big win for Smith & Wesson, but our industry, American sovereignty, and most importantly, every American who wishes to exercise his or her Second Amendment rights." I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. I really do. It's rare that I line up 100% with CEO quotes because I hate them, but I agree. Interestingly enough, though, as Adam discussed in the last episode of the Big 2A, the courts aren't always so willing to hear important gun rights cases. You need to go watch that video if you haven't yet. I would really like it if you guys did. I also find it kind of funny that Mexico suddenly got a bug up their butt about this issue, but didn't seem to have a problem when former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder was running guns into the country under the Fast and Furious operation and ended up getting people in the U.S. killed. That was fine, but well, suddenly it's a problem. In other industry news, the background check numbers for May 2025 are in, and as you may have guessed, they are down from last year. The total for last month was 2,079,232 background checks, which is just under 47,000 less than last year. It also is about 200,000 less than April's background checks. This is a continuing trend this year. With the exception of January, every month has been down from last year and gets us a total so far of 11.66 million checks for the year. I've continued to hear talk from the industry about numbers stabilizing, normalizing, etc., and that it is hurting some brands in the wallet. I will say that I suspect we're probably going to see some more brands closing down, merging, finding new ways to do business. I've heard rumors of a big AR company being bought by an even larger gun maker, but I have yet to be able to confirm as of recording this if Ruger did in fact buy Anderson Manufacturing or if that remains a rumor. I'm not positive on that. It could be BS. And for our deal of the week that I mentioned earlier, if you're in the market for a Holosun optic, you want to check out my friends at Shooter's Choice. They're hooking up you guys, TGC viewers, with a special deal. You have to email them at scholosun@gmail.com, and then you're going to let them know which optic you want, and they're going to send you a personal quote. Be sure to mention TGC sent you. Of course, tell them why you're emailing them. We have to do it like this in sort of this back way to bring you some great deals because of some other issues. If this works out, we're going to be able to do more just like this, so be ready. Shoot them an email. Also, if you don't subscribe and hit like on this video, we can't be friends. For realsies this time. I'm so dumb.